What is the Upskis, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GXGamerCast. We're on episode 82 of my little gaming show where once a week I just have to talk about video games. New video games I'm currently playing, old video games that I grew up with. It doesn't matter. If you like video games, you might have a good time here today. And we're doing a little bit of a tweener episode here. It's kind of a retro backlog episode and a modern review, sort of. Today, I am talking about Metal Gear Solid Rising. Revengeance? Yeah, so I remember vividly the marketing campaign around this game and the whole creating of the word Revengeance, and I believe they had it put in the dictionary and everything, so they come up with this whole new word or everything, but it's like, Revengeance didn't exist before? Well, regardless, anyway, that is the game I will be talking about today. It's a little bit of a backlog as well, because I've had this game on my radar ever since it came out. I was like, that game looks incredibly fun, incredibly cool, but for a full price point at the time when it came out, not a very long game, and yeah, so I finally got around to it today. We'll review that, but before we get into the review, let's talk about what I have been up to over the last week or so. And I always encourage you, the listener, the viewer, let me know what you've been up to over the last whatever amount of time. What kind of TV shows are you watching right now? What movies are you watching? And of course, what video games are you playing right now? Doesn't matter if it's old or new, just if you like it, let me know about it. Maybe I haven't heard about it and I will dive into it at some point. So, what have I been up to over the last week or so? Well, it has been an addiction. A brand new addiction has emerged this week in the form of Survivor, the TV show. So my wife and I have gotten completely addicted, and I was an OG Survivor watcher. I was there from the beginning, watched it for years and years with my dad and my sister, and then eventually we just got bored of it, and I hadn't watched Survivor in a very, very long time. Saw my wife watching it, I got jealous, I'm like, yo, let's watch a season together. We decided to watch season 33, which is the Millennials versus Gen X, and we crushed the whole season, bro. Yesterday, we just binged. We sat there all day, lazy as fuck, and just watched it. It was so fucking good. Probably by far the best season of Survivor that I have ever seen. That season was insane, bro. Like, wow, the amount of backstabbing in there was amazing. Like, every single week there was a huge blindside going down. There was just the cast was excellent, man. There were so many people that I was rooting for, and no, none of them won. None of the people I was rooting for won. Michaela might be one of my favorite survivors of all time. She was just so spicy and moody. She was amazing. And my wife and I, we finished season 33 and we're going right into season 34, and Michaela is back. She is in this season as well. I'm already very, very nervous for Michaela, and also from season 33, Zeke is also back. And yeah, so they're doing like, this one's called Game Changers, so it's like all the people that had some pretty amazing moments in Survivor history, and they're putting them all together, and they're doing Survivor Season 34. So far, so good. We only watched the first episode of that, and holy shit, dude. We are just addicted. Like, we tried watching wrestling last night, and, like, my brain was foggy. Like, all I could think of was Survivor and watching it, and like, it's bad, bro. It's really bad. I am beyond addicted with Survivor. I'm even watching a season by myself that my wife watched without me. So I'm watching that one, season 45, like the not the newest one, but the one before it. And oh my God, that might be the worst cast of survivors I've ever seen. There's a guy named Brandon. My name's Brandon, and he is shaming the name of Brandon out there. Like, he is making all of his Brandons look really bad. And wow, a girl, she literally quit because she was like nicotining out. Like, I guess she decided, yo, I'm gonna quit smoking while doing Survivor. The worst thing you could ever do. Trust me, I've quit smoking 4 times now. I will say I am over 2 years smoke free. Thank you very much. Hold the applause. Thank you. But wow, dude, I can't stop watching Survivor. All I want to do is watch Survivor. It's an addiction. My wife and I just got Paramount Plus, and they have season 32 till 46 of Survivor. So yeah, we're gonna be watching a lot of Survivor. I feel like it is awesome. Yeah, man, I caught the bug. It's not good, and we will be watching the newest season, but it's like a week behind or something, so we're probably just going to let a few of them stockpile before we get into the newest season of Survivor, and that is all I have watched this week. Like, it was a busy wrestling week, so we caught up with the wrestling and just watched Survivor. That's it. Didn't watch anything. Well, I did watch a few episodes of Vox Machina, but that show has basically become a little bit of background noise, at least the first season. I feel like it's going to start developing into a much better situation once season 2 gets going, but it's a fine background noise show for me while I play Balatro. Balatro, bro, holy shit, this game is good. If you do not know about Balatro yet, do your research. Go buy Balatro right now. It's $20. You'll thank me later. Promise you, bro. It is so much fucking fun. It's a card building roguelite, and it's all around poker hands, and it's just so it's so addicting. I have yet to win. I have not gone through a successful run yet. I've gotten to the final round a couple times and just missed the mark a few times. It's incredibly addicting. I just want to play another round, and I never get mad. It's not a game that you're going to sit there and get mad at, I don't think, anyway, but it's just incredibly fun coming up with these new strategies, trying to figure out, all right, what am I going to go with now, and my strategies still have been utilizing the straights and flushes. I'm getting some really unique cards that have really helped out that strategy. Like, I got a couple here. One was like, all right, diamonds and hearts, it's the same suit, so I could just use those. It was awesome. It was so much fun. Seriously, check out Balatro. Amazing game to have on a handheld device like the Switch. As far as I know, it's available on everything. There was a little bit of problems there, but as far as I know, that's cleaned up. Go get Balatro. It is insanely fun. And then the other spectrum of that, I have been playing through Sekiro. So I have started Sekiro, very difficult video game, obviously, and I'm going into this one blind, absolutely blind, no guide. I don't want any help, really. I probably will start getting a little bit of help because the game is incredibly difficult, and I'm getting into a lot of roadblocks. I'll run into an enemy, like, all right, this guy's way too fucking hard. I'll go this way for a little bit until I hit a roadblock over there, come back, try and fight the boss, and yeah, man, it's different. It's definitely different than Dark Souls. It's not as alarming for me because I'm very aware of the difference in gameplay, and coming off of Metal Gear Solid Rising gave me a little bit of a warm-up for Sekiro. But yeah, so far it's very good. It's a gorgeous game. I will do a review on Sekiro, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, but yeah, man, yesterday was a rough one, just getting my ass kicked time and time again on I had two bosses in the same area, and I'm kind of just bouncing in between each one. They're just kicking the shit out of me. Finally took both of them down today, and only to run into yet another roadblock, and this fucking guy's kicking my ass. And yeah, it's been a lot of that. I had like one proud moment where there was one boss that I heard is a roadblock for a lot of players. I was able to take that dude down on my first try. That made me feel good, but the gameplay is extremely good. I'll probably be making some comparisons to Sekiro and Metal Gear Rising in this review, but shit, dude, Sekiro, it is not fucking around. It's a tough video game. It's very satisfying and fun to play. But yeah, I'm having some bad days with it. I'm having some good days where, you know, I'm getting through some shit, and then there's some days I'm just getting my ass kicked. So that's been going on, and I've been playing a little bit of Forza Horizon, Forza Motorsport, the latest in the Forza franchise, I guess. And it's more Forza, man. It's driving, you're driving circuits, it's Forza. If you played Forza before, you're getting exactly what you're getting out of it. It's very just do a race, go do the practice, into another race, rinse and repeat over and over and over again. You know, sometimes I get into the races. I can do like 2 or 3 races. Sometimes I do one race. I'm like, I'm done. I can't fucking do this anymore. And a big problem is that, like, the last racing game I played was the F1 games, and they're using a lot of the same tracks, which is like I'm driving tracks. I'm like, yo, this is the same track from the F1 video game. So I'm not even getting like new tracks to drive for myself. And yeah, it's just, it's very good racing game. There's really no bells and whistles to it. There's no real gimmick to it other than race and win. That's really all there is to it. The cars aren't even all that exciting. They give you like a choice between like 5 cars or something to choose whenever you go into a championship. I just went into like, your classic muscle car championship, and they gave me 3 cars to choose from, like modern Camaro, a modern Challenger, and a modern Mustang. I'm like, bleh, what is that? Like in Forza Horizon, there's like, here's 8,000 cars, like just have fun. Like Horizon is just so much better. It's not even comparable. Like I don't even know why they continue on with the Forza Motorsport when you have Horizon, which is best of both worlds. So I don't know, probably pissed off a lot of Forza fans right there, but I'm playing it, and it is fun. It's good. It's just, like, so plain. There's just nothing going on with it. But it's some people want that out of their racer, so there's that. And when it comes to that SnowRunner game, pretty much just dropped off on that. I don't think I'm going to be playing that game anymore. It's just too slow, too simulation-y, but really cool game. Like, if someone was like, yo, come over to my house, I got the wheel, I got a rig and everything, like, oh, fuck yeah, I would play the shit out of that game, but on a controller, it's pretty fucking boring and monotonous, honestly, so don't think I'll continue onwards with that game right there. And I did pick up a new game that I plan on playing really, really soon, because I guess for some reason I am in the mood to get my ass kicked with hard video games, and Sifu just dropped on the PlayStation free games of the month or whatever, and that game has been on my radar the second I heard about it. Concept sounds so cool. It's like a beat-em-up game, but every time you die, you age, and you're trying to beat the game before you fucking die of old age. I'm like, that sounds super cool. The kind of funny guys, they were all over that game, so I'm pretty excited to get my hands on it. I probably won't be playing that alongside with Sekiro, because I need something nice, simple, and easy. That's why I'm playing Forza on the side. When my brain is about to explode from frustration with Sekiro, I'll go play Balatro or Forza to calm myself down a little bit. So there you go. That is everything that I have been playing over the last week or so. Can't stop watching Survivor. And here we go, everybody. Let's talk about Metal Gear Rising, kind of the forgotten Metal Gear game. Oh baby, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, a game so insane that it needed to invent its own word in Revengeance. But I must say, I wish I played this game much, much earlier than I did. I waited a silly amount of time to finally play this game, and it's kind of weird that this game is also made by Platinum, and I did a very similar thing with Bayonetta, a Platinum game, where I was very aware of it, very, very interested, but just waited for a lower price on the video game. It just kind of never happened, or something else came around, and yeah, the years just kept piling on. And man, this game came out in like 2013. It's been 10 years, over 10 years. The game is essentially a retro, a classic now. I don't know. Once you hit the decade mark, that's where you kind of start to play with that word, classic, retro, whatever, right? Kind of crazy to me that we're already at, like, Xbox 360 games are considered classic, retro. Maybe it's some of the people that are listening today's first console. Well, with Metal Gear Solid Rising, I'm a huge Metal Gear Solid guy. Metal Gear Solid 4, one of my favorite games of all time. Super impactful game on me. And it was the first Metal Gear Solid game in the franchise that I played through and beat. So that was big, and that was my introduction to Raiden. And when I played 4, there was a lot of heat on Raiden, because Raiden, whether you liked it or not, was the main character of Metal Gear Solid 2, which was a little bit of a trick on the gamers back then. They made it look like it was going to be Snake, and then they flipped the script on you. You're playing this Raiden guy who was a little bit of a bitch in Metal Gear Solid 2, but the dude becomes one of the most badass guys of all time in Metal Gear Solid 4. He becomes this cyborg robotic ninja, and it's amazing. And you get to play as that version of Raiden in Metal Gear Solid Rising. So this game takes place shortly after the events of Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots, and basically you're just kind of continuing on. I think it's like 5 years after the events of 4. You can correct me if I'm wrong, probably wrong, but it's in that era of time. And there are some characters that you will recognize from Metal Gear Solid 4. They're a little bit grown up right now. I'll just say it. It's Sunny. Sunny from Metal Gear Solid 4. She was like a child, maybe 7 or 8, but she's like a young genius prodigy. Like, she's very good with technology and shit. And she's older in this one, like a young teenager, something like that. And yeah, she's like building these crazy things now. But back to the concept of the game, it is not like a Metal Gear Solid game. It is not stealthy. There is a small little itty-bitty piece of stealth in this game that you don't even have to do. But yeah, it is not like Metal Gear Solid. It is, I think, published by Konami, but it is made by Platinum Games, the guys behind, the group behind Bayonetta, Vanquish, which is also an incredible video game. So I was excited, man. Like, Platinum Games is becoming one of my favorite companies now. I've been playing Bayonetta, I played Vanquished, and now I played this game, and I like this flavor. I like the flavor that these guys are putting down, and that flavor is over the top, insane hack and slash gameplay. If you played Bayonetta, it'll feel like that. If you played Devil May Cry, maybe something like that, but it's just over the fucking top, crazy hack and slash gameplay. And yes, it is difficult. It is a difficult video game. Is it the most difficult video game that I've ever played in my life? No, but it is definitely hard. It is a tricky video game, and they make that pretty aware early in the game. I think first or second boss fight that I had, I hit a wall and I was like, do I want to play this or not? This seems really fucking hard. But it's some of the gameplay mechanics of this game that really kept me coming back. And we'll get there, but before we talk about the gameplay, we talked about the concept of what the hell this is. Let's talk a little bit about the more boring stuff, the graphics, the sound design, and stuff like that before we get to the good stuff, the gameplay and the crazy moments and the boss fights that I had to deal with in Metal Gear Rising. So, with the sound design, you heard the music already. The music is banging, absolutely banging. It's metal, it's power metal, it's just very fast, crazy, hectic, fucking triple drum. What the fuck do I call it? I'm a drummer, and I can't even fucking remember. Like, triple kick drums, like the bass pedals are going crazy. It's wild. It's just very... It fits perfectly, obviously, with the chaotic speed of the gameplay. You're going to have a chaotic, speedy soundtrack to go with it, and definitely not as good as Bayonetta. Bayonetta had, like, not only did it have the crazy fast, like, power metal shit going on, it had these over-the-top, epic, just... wow, amazing operatic music, like just crazy shit. Now, you're not getting that here necessarily in Metal Gear Rising, but you are getting a fucking really nice soundtrack, man. The music in this game, like I said, it's just crazy fast, super fucking, I'm not gonna say loud, but it's very in-your-face music. It has, like, lyrics in it. I don't know if it's a real band or anything, but I really dug the music in this game. It absolutely fit. High octane, fucking adrenaline, heart pumping music went perfectly. So yeah, music hit its mark for sure. Now I don't know what the hell to say about Raiden and his voice actor. So really weird sounding voice for Raiden. It almost sounds like he's being voiced by two different people, because Raiden's got like this, I'm trying to be tough, like Solid Snake voice. But then he's got like a normal voice where he's just kind of like, sounds fine. Like, he sounds like Raiden from Metal Gear Solid 4. Like, he's just, yeah, what's going on, guys? But then he does this, like, really weird gutturally thing when he gets, like, all intense and shit. I don't really like it. I didn't really jive with the voice acting with Raiden. Wasn't really... I don't know, man. It was just super off, really weird sounding. And yeah, I mean, some of the other characters, like Sunny, she's very, like, you know, animated character kind of deal, girl, but she was okay. The characters were fine. It was more like the villains of the game were like the standouts. Like, some of these dudes look really cool. There was a guy that you had to fight. I think his name is Samuel. He looks awesome, man. He's like, very similar to you. He's like a cyborg ninja, just crazy looking body, man. Like, I gotta say, like, Raiden, one of the coolest looking fucks I have ever seen, man. He looks so cool. Just like, even his feet are badass. Like his feet, you might look at his feet and be like, wow, what is he wearing? High heels? It's like, oh, not so fast, my friend. His feet look like that because he can use his feet like hands, and he can like cut up people with his katana, with his feet. It's crazy. And of course, that is Raiden's weapon of choice, if you will. The katana, it's a crazy fucking sharp blade. It's amazing, but yeah, I like the character designs in this game. There's one guy, he is the senator of Colorado. You might know this guy. He's a little bit legendary as being a very, very hard boss fight. We'll talk about it when I get there, but when I first saw him, I got the chills. I'm like, oh, I've seen so many videos on this guy, how hard he is. But he's a badass, man. The senator of Colorado, man, he was cool. Really enjoyed that character. Now, when it comes to fighting that guy, that's a bit of a different story. We'll talk about that when we get there. But in terms of the sound of the game, it sounds good. Like, the swords sound good. Now, it's no Sekiro when you're clanging blades with another samurai or whatever. It doesn't have that king, but it sounds good. It's got a lot of like robots and stuff like that are shooting missiles at you. That all sounds fine. The music is great. They do have some of the iconic sounds of Metal Gear Solid, like the alert sound, like the bah, shit like that. It's got a little bit of that. It's got my wife was giggling at me because I was dying so much. And every time you die, you get that classic over the top, like, Raiden. My wife's like, the fuck is going on over there? It's like, don't worry about it. It's Metal Gear Solid. It's a thing. But yeah, sound design, all good, nothing too bad. I'm just a little shaky on the voice acting of Raiden. He just sounds really weird. If you heard it, you might know what I'm talking about, but yeah. And now in terms of the graphics, so this is a late Xbox 360 game, very late in fact. Like I feel like 2013, Xbox was still going. That must have been like the last year or something. I feel like the next gen was like 2014, 15, something like that. Anyway, yeah, a very late game in the cycle of Xbox 360, PlayStation 3. It's a good looking game. It did take a little bit for I think my monitor needed to adjust to it. It was definitely really fuzzy at the beginning, but I think that was just because of my monitor. After that, though, the game cleaned up, started looking a lot more sharp. It's a good-looking game, man. It's a good-looking game. That's kind of the benefit of the HD era, I find. Like, I have no problems playing anything from old 360 onward. In terms of graphics, they rarely bother me. Once you get to like PS2, Xbox, depends on the game, but some of them can look pretty fucking ugly, like really early PS2 games, like those are hurting nowadays. GameCube did pretty well in its aging, but yeah, graphics for this 360 game look really good for the time. A lot of shit going on, like very chaotic and just a lot of sparks flying around, and it's very hectic, very fast, and it runs very smooth. I had no problems with it running. I think I might have had one crash where I had to restart the game, but I don't think that was all that big of a deal. It seemed pretty good looking game. And of course, it is not a Metal Gear game without some fucking cutscenes. Now, I'll say flat out right here, right now, they are not as long as the Metal Gear Solid 4 cutscenes. I don't think there's ever been a video game that has longer cutscenes than Metal Gear Solid 4. I'm a fan of them personally. I think they're awesome. But the cutscenes in Metal Gear Rising are dope. There's a lot of them, just short and sweet, but they're over the top. They're epic. You're getting good amount of the story, and I'm not going to touch too much on the story that much because it's very over the top. But basically, the bad guys in the game are trying to start a war. They need to start generating jobs. They need to start building weapons. They need to start doing that, get the war machine rolling again, and Raiden and your group are like, fuck that shit. Oh, and also the bad guys are doing some really, really shady shit in the way that they're trying to build their army by harvesting children. So they're just like snatching up kids, and they're taking their brains out, and they're putting them into these androids, and they're trying to make this like super soldier fucking, yeah, so we gotta stop that shit, right? We gotta put an end to that right here, right now. So that is essentially the gist of the story that is going on. And the senator guy, he's trying to become president. And how do you become president? Well, you gotta start, I gotta get jobs for everybody and shit like that. It's a very politically driven storyline. I'm not a very political guy whatsoever, but I found the story very entertaining. It's over the top. It's wild. You're just like, what is going on? And I mean, the beginning of the game is batshit crazy. You're literally fighting Metal Gear Ray in the first part of the game. And Metal Gear Ray, that's like the final boss in Metal Gear Solid 2. And they're just like, yo, you're starting out with this. I feel like they did something very similar to that in like Metal Gear Solid, one of them anyway. That was dope. The opening of the game is fucking spectacular. Super over the top. Fucking Metal Gear Ray flying all over the place. You got cyborg ninjas fucking everywhere. It's all over the place. And then you get to do a little cyborg ninja little duel on a moving train. It is very over the top. That is the nature of the Platinum games and this style of game. Hack and slash games are very chaotic for the most part. So with that being said, I think we're done with the sound design, graphics, good looking, good sounding. Let's talk about the best part of this game. The thing that kept me coming back is the gameplay of Metal Gear Rising. So obviously fast-paced hack and slash action. You got your fast attacks, you got your heavier attacks, you're hitting X and Y, you got little combos that you can do, you can unlock new moves to use, you can unlock different weapons to try out. I didn't get to try out many weapons because I only had so much money available to me at the end of the level. They give you, very much so of the Capcom style, like, oh, here's your ranking. I got a B ranking on this, and so on and so forth. They'll give you points. You get more points if you do better. I was probably a CB player throughout my playthrough. I had a couple S's here and there, but not very many. So you can upgrade some stuff from Raiden, make your attack power a little bit higher. You can make your little gauge meter more, but we'll get into it. So with the gameplay, you're using your not machete, your katana, and this is one of the coolest mechanics I have ever played with in a video game. It is so cool. I remember them demoing it before the game came out, and you go into this like cutting mode. Basically everything slows down and you get free range with your katana to chop and cut up bitches or anything you want. Cars, fucking street lamps, watermelons, people. Chop them up as much as you want in any way. You can dice them up into a million fucking pieces. You could slice them in half. You can cut them right down the fucking middle. And it is so satisfying. It is so fucking satisfying, man. I cannot believe I have not played another game that had a mechanic like this. It is so fucking good. And it has like two different modes. So you can like free range mode, you can cut it up any way you want. You just have to move the analog sticks and it'll just have a line and you just fucking swing, cutting them up. Really fun. You could just use the standard buttons. X will do like a horizontal slash, Y will do a vertical slash, and you can just do it that way. But you have full degree. From fucking 0 degrees to 90 degrees, you can do the cut. It's just very fucking good. And they'll have these moments like a bigger enemy will come at you, like those like cow things from Metal Gear Solid 4 that will always creep me out. They're big, long, robotic legs, and they moo, but you're fighting that thing, and like once you hit it enough, it'll like, all right, you can do this attack, and you'll like jump over it, and it'll go slow-mo, and you gotta cut it up in the right area, and it'll have like a little spot. It's like, oh, if you slash it right here, you can like fucking rip out the power core of the thing, and they'll like refill your health and your meter, and it's just like so fast and satisfying. I can do it all day. It is just amazing, man. And back to the demo. I remember these dudes playing the demo of this game, and like they weren't even fighting anything. They just found like a little row of watermelons sitting there, and they just went up to the watermelons and like, look, we can cut up this watermelon like you would at home. And they just sat there and chopped up the watermelon and into perfect little pieces that you would cut it up like at home. And I'm like, wow, like that's amazing. That's really fucking cool. And yeah, I have not seen a mechanic like that ever since this game, and I'm shocked. It is just amazingly fun. I could not get enough of it. Like you can just be walking around, you see a car on the road, and you're just like, I'm gonna cut it in half, and swing, you just chop it right in half. Like it cuts through it like butter. It's amazing. So much fucking fun. I love it. So the chopping mechanic is one of the greatest things I have ever done. So they fucking nailed it shot it out of the park with that gameplay mechanic, and then they shoot themselves in the foot with a couple of the other gameplay mechanics. So one that just fucking pissed me off was whenever you get stunned by an enemy, a bunch of shit can happen to get you stunned. You get hit, you get fucking flashbang, something jumps on you. You gotta wiggle the fucking analog stick around and around and around and around, and it just absolutely kills the gameplay dead. You gotta stop everything you're doing and fucking rotate the stick, and you gotta do it so much. You gotta go crazy, and they gave you such a limited amount of time. It brought back horrifying flashbacks of Mario Party 1 when you gotta rotate the fucking N64 analog stick and you're just grinding into your hand, and like it was like that, man. Like my thumbs were getting sore. There are some fights in this game where you're just getting stunned constantly, and every 7 seconds you're spinning that fucking thing, and I'd say 80% of the time you can't get out of the stun. Like by the time you fucking start rotating, you've already been hit. You're out of it. Like it's so annoying. I hated that mechanic so much. Like a game that is so fast paced, so frenetic, and to have me stop dead and wiggle the stick a whole bunch of times. And I think there's different varieties. Like there's one you got to go like up and down with the stick. The other ones you got to go in a circular motion. It's a pain in the fucking ass, and I hated that mechanic. And that's not the only mechanic that I didn't like. So when it comes to these games, of course you got to have a parry. You got to be able to block attacks, and if you block them at the right time, you can do some big fucking damage. Now, parrying is much different than, let's say, Sekiro, for example. Sekiro, to parry, one button. Press the trigger button, bam, you parry, bitch. If you do it at the right time, good to go. Metal Gear Solid Rising. They want you to press the button, and they want you to flick the stick in the direction of where the attack is going. This creates some problems. This definitely creates some problems. Very tricky parry mechanic to get the hang of. You kind of have to do this like clunk situation to get it to work, and it's extremely tricky. These slashes, these attacks are coming at you at lightning speed, and that difference of me having to go clunk instead of clunk with one singular press of a button is the difference of a good parry mechanic to a bad one. This one, not very good. When you get it, when you got the rhythm of whatever attack is coming at you, and you're sitting there and you're getting it going, but yeah, it is really satisfying, but it takes one mistake, and then you got to try and get back into that double button rhythm, and it's just a lot harder than it would be with one button. I would have killed for it to be a singular button. It would have been so much better if it was just hit the fucking right bumper, and you would have been great. It would have been so much more smooth. It would have been easier, but easier in the right way. This mechanic makes it harder for me in the wrong ways, where it's not smooth. It's almost painful a little bit to do that counter, because you gotta like aggressively hit that directional. You gotta get that right, or it's just not going to work. And more often than not, when you're getting hit, it's coming in a combo. There's probably 3 or 4 more attacks coming behind that first one. If you fuck that one up, probably dead. So yeah, the parry mechanic more often than not just wasn't working. It was very, very inconsistent. That was the problem, the big problem. Like, I know with one button, I know I did it right with one button press. With the analog stick thing, I have no real idea which way the attack is coming at me, because it's all so fucking fast and chaotic. It's very difficult. So I had problems with the parry system. Not my favorite way to have done that, which is not great. So yeah, I wasn't jiving with the parry system. It's kind of got to get good at it, but yeah, I would have picked a different way to do it. And then you get the ninja run ability. It's just, essentially, it is exactly what it is. You run, and when you run, it basically just does free running for you. If there's any obstacles in your way, Raiden will jump over it, Raiden will slide under it, Raiden will do what Raiden needs to do to get over that obstacle, and it's nice. It's nice and smooth. I don't have to sit there and mash the X button to jump over a bunch of shit, which is nice. And they have a couple of moments in the game where you're just like, you're jumping from missile to missile. You're just like, all right, just hit the free run button. You're just hopping from missile to missile and platforming and shit like that. So that was cool. That was good. I had no problems with the ninja run. That was fun. And also when you're doing the ninja run, if you run into enemies that are shooting at you, if you're ninja running, you'll just block all their bullets with your sword. So that is also rather useful. And there is some minor stealth gameplay. So really nice touch that they added in. Like they have the cardboard box. They got the metal drum from all the Metal Gear Solid games. Super classic. You put the fucking box over you and you just walk around pretending to be a box and trying to blend in with the environment. You can do that in this game. Absolutely. You do not have to, though. Now, there's a couple of sections in the game where it's like, we would recommend, it is a good idea to try and take these guys out quietly. Again, you don't have to, but it might make certain parts more difficult than it needs to be. The stealth is easy. It works. It's not as in-depth in as a Metal Gear Solid game. Like, you're not throwing porno magazines out there trying to distract them, and maybe you are. I didn't. But yeah, you basically just run up behind them, kill them instantly. It's as simple as that. Get up high. But they are pretty good. Like they definitely have pretty good AI when it comes to these guys seeing you and finding you. They're pretty good at that. There's a couple of times when I was in my metal drum, they would walk by, and yeah, they would detect me. So they were pretty good. They weren't fucking so bad that it was like, holy shit, dude, like this is annoying. And the best part about it is they have that like alert caution system from Metal Gear Solid games where it's like, oh, if they see you, they're in alert mode. If they're coming after you, they know where you are. When it goes down to like yellow mode, it's like, all right, they're looking for you, they're cautious, and so on and so forth. That moves way faster than Metal Gear Solid 4 or even 5. Takes a very long time for them to be, to forget about you. And Metal Gear Rising, super quick. They're like 5 seconds, like, oh, I don't even know who I am anymore. I forgot everything completely. And there you go. Off you go. So yeah, they have stealth. It's not a must. It works when it needs to work. It's not amazing. It's not like, oh, I am just itching for more of that Metal Gear Rising stealth gameplay. You know what I'm saying? Nah, it's not like that, but it doesn't ruin the game whatsoever. A couple of other things that I had a little bit of gripes with. The camera. Camera is not the best. There are definitely some fights that I had to deal with in this game where the camera was fighting me really, really hard. And it would have been great if they explained the lock-on system to me a little bit better. I didn't realize there was a true lock-on system until a little bit later on in the game, which is a shame because I was like halfway through the game, like, man, I could really use a lock-on. And then I just hit a bunch of random buttons, and then bam, I had a lock-on. I was like, fuck. So yeah, there is a lock-on in this game. I don't recall them being like, hey, press this button to lock on to your enemies. I feel like it was something I had to kind of figure out on my own, which is a shame. You really need a lock on in a hack and slash game. I need to be able to focus in on who I'm attacking instead of having fucking camera going around all over the place. So with that being said, yes, it's sort of my fault. Yes, it's sort of their fault. So I'll kind of just leave it as a mute point, but the camera is a problem at times, and that's not always my fault, and sometimes their fault. So yeah, not the best camera there. So now that we kind of explained the gameplay, I mentioned that this is a hard game, right? Well, yes, absolutely. This game is fucking hard. It's a hard game, man. I can't really. It's tough. And they're not shy about it. They throw pretty tough stuff at you early. You get this like robotic wolf dog eventually. First you have to fight it, and holy shit, that fight was just kicking my ass. Like I needed that one. It was a fight where they're trying to teach you how to get good at the parry mechanic, and yeah, like I said, the parry mechanic wasn't that good, so it took me a while to figure out how to get that fucking pattern down with the double clicking of the parry button. So yeah, that dude kicked my ass, man. Like that was the first, an hour and a half in, that boss was beating me down so bad. I was like, yo, I might put this down. This might be too hard for me. But then I'm like, yo, bro, like you beat Melania in Elden Ring on your first try. I'm not quitting. So I went back, baby. I went back and I beat that fucking wolf dog bitch. And then he becomes your ally. He starts running around with you. And he basically just goes out and scouts shit. Doesn't really provide a whole lot. It is a funny character, though. It's a pretty cute little character. I remember one moment late in the game, you're like hanging out, and the dog's just hanging out, chilling underneath the table, and then you like step on its tail, it bonks its head on the table, all these books come crashing down on it, and it just like faints, but it's like a robot. So it's just silly Metal Gear Solid shit. Back to the bosses. So holy shit. That guy kicked my ass, the little wolf dog dude. Took a bunch of tries, and this fucking son of a bitch. Monsoon, whatever, there's 2 Monsoon fights. So Monsoon, just initially, this guy is a fucking asshole. He is so tough. Very long fight, like it's just relentless, just keeps going on. He has these ridiculously tough to stop combos. He's got these smoke bombs that he throws up, so you won't be able to see where he's coming. You gotta kind of like keep your peripherals open, and he'll just come flying through the smoke, and you gotta try and block him. Very tough to get that pattern down. And you get some terrible camera angle work in this boss fight as well. This dude's jumping all over the fucking place through smoke bombs, and you're just trying to get the camera to be on him. And yes, this was the fight where I was like, man, I could really use a lock-on right now, so maybe this dude wouldn't have been as bad if I had the lock-on working, but yeah, and he's not done there. He starts throwing jets, like fucking actual jets and tanks at you, and it'll do like a slow-mo cut-up thing. So you go into that mechanic thing, slow down, and like the tank is coming at you, and it'll have like a line, and you gotta line up the line and make the cut, or it's gonna fucking fly into you, do a huge amount of damage, or you can cut right through the tank, which is extremely satisfying. It's like, holy, I just cut through a tank, man, that's insane. So that shit's going on. The music during this fight is also just going out of control. It is amazing. Thankfully, out of the 9,000 times it took me to beat this guy, at least I got to hear a really bumping soundtrack, but Jesus Christ, this guy was so hard. But one of the most satisfying things is when I finally did kill his ass, I got to chop him up into a million pieces. And I was going crazy with that chopping button. I was like, cutting. Oh, I fucking hated that guy. And the worst thing is, you gotta fight him again. He shows back up later in the game, and he is just as hard, if not harder, with all of his same bullshit, going fucking invisible. You can't see him. And the worst part is this guy will go into like invincible mode, where you cannot fucking touch him unless you have rather a specific side weapon that you have to find and buy, or you have you have a, what do you call those, EMP grenades. And yes, you can pick up items throughout the game. They'll have like little chests and crates where you can pick up rations to refill your health. You can pick up bombs, rocket launchers, fucking missile launchers, grenades, shit like that. Very scarce though, very scarce. And during this boss fight, I was stuck. I couldn't restart the level. I was stuck at this checkpoint where all I could do is go and fight him. I had nothing to stop that moment where he goes invincible. You can't connect with him. You basically have to wait out the storm, which is he's attacking you, and like, yeah, extremely chaotic. This happened to me a couple of times where I got fucked by items, where I was at a checkpoint where it's like, I really can't go anywhere and I have nothing. So I basically have to try and beat this boss fight bare bones, and that is difficult. So yeah, that made it extremely difficult. That part of the fight where he goes invincible was just infuriating to me. It was so annoying. It took me forever to get through him, and I had to buy the weapon that allows you to send out like a little electric charge at him, which will fucking make him stop being invincible. So that was a thing of the fight I really didn't like. And then we get a nice little moment here where I was just walking and I get to this really beautiful Japanese garden, and it was just a beautiful set piece for a little fight against some normal enemies. You're just chopping them up, but with the cherry blossoms back, I love cherry blossoms so much. It's so beautiful. That was a nice set piece. That was cool. And now to the next boss fight. This guy wasn't too bad. Sundowner, that was a good fight. He's like this big fucking like samurai looking dude, and he basically just puts up like this shield that you gotta cut through. It took me a while. It took me a second to figure out like where to cut, because like every time I would cut him, it would just like send me flying, do a bunch of damage. So there's like a certain spot you gotta cut him open, and then you can get to him and start fighting him. That was just a good fight. Maybe one of the more just like, okay, it didn't fucking slaughter my ass. He wasn't being insane. He had like decent enough, like, what do you call it? He was telegraphing his attacks decently. He was big, so he was easier to telegraph with his big, powerful swings. I enjoyed that fight. That one, only took me a handful of tries. He wasn't too bad. And then you get to Samuel. Oh my god, Samuel. Holy shit, this guy fucking filleted me like a fish. Holy shit, he fucked me up. The big problem was, ran into a very similar problem. I got to Samuel. I had no health. I had no health items. So I was going in with 1 health bar, which is fucking next. Good luck. And eventually I figured out that I can cut some rocks that were around and that had some health things in it. And eventually I was finally able to get this fucker down. But he's just incredibly hard. It's a cool fight. I like the area. You're just riding a motorcycle, being a badass, and then he's there waiting for you, and you just have this epic samurai showdown out in the middle of fucking nowhere. But yeah, dude, he's hard. He hits like a fucking tank. He is fast as hell, blocks everything, crazy fast combos. And yeah, man, it took me multiple tries to get through him. And the worst one of all, I had to go take a walk after this one. This fucker killed me. He had 0.01% health left. All I had to do was look at him and he was dead. And he fucking blocked me like 30 straight times and then just took me down and put the controller down, took a fucking lap around the house. I was so fucking angry, man. I was so angry. That was so demoralizing, like, to have that. It was literally felt like a Dark Souls boss. You know, you got that massive health bar and you just one little slither left and you fucking panic. You go too hard trying to get that one hit and you should have played defense, and then they get you and you're just kicking your own ass. And he kicked my ass so hard. Like, there's going to be a lot of bosses from this game that are going to make the next list of hardest bosses I ever fought. And absolutely, this guy's making the list. Fucking Samuel, dude. He was insane. He was hard and fast. And I don't think I ever want to fight him again. Get a cool fight versus this giant spider Metal Gear looking thing. That was dope. That was a lot of fun. You're like flying around the giant fucking spider Metal Gear thing, cutting it up. That was amazing. And the music. Oh my god, the music. Music was amazing throughout that. And then we get to the guy. We get to him. The legend. Senator Armstrong. Oh god. When I first saw him, man, I literally got chills. I was like, fuck, there he is. Oh, that's the guy. That's the fucking guy. And I will confirm, yes, he is very, very hard. He is very, very, very difficult fight. Now, the trick to this guy is you just got to get through the first barrage of this guy. If you can get through it, you have a chance. You have a chance. So, yeah, dude, he hits really hard, really fast. They don't refill your health until you can get through that first onslaught. If you can get through that onslaught, you have a chance. But then they throw a really tricky cut at you. So this dude throws like a fucking building at you or something like that, and you got to cut up like 3 pieces that he throws at you. They're very, very fast and very, very tricky cuts, and you have to make the cut, because if you don't, not only do you get hit, but you don't get any health. You have to make that cut, because if you make it successfully, they'll drop health items for you. That's the only shot you got at beating this guy, man. He is relentless. He is an animal, and he's a badass. Like, you know, you think of a senator, you think of a political man, you might think of a small, frail old man or something. Not Senator Armstrong. Senator Armstrong is like 400 pounds of muscle. He is insane. And, oh, buddy, before you even get to the fight, you have this awesome conversation with him, like talking about politics and like riding, like plays along with him basically, and gets Senator Armstrong all riled up. He's like, yeah, we're gonna change the world. And then like you guys start fighting about it. That was awesome. So with this boss fight, you absolutely need to get some luck. You need to get some of that RNG luck, and the best thing you can hope for is he'll do these attacks that will knock your sword out of your hand, and as long as you hit the quick time event fast, it'll take a good chunk of his health away. And if you can get lucky and get him to do that twice, maybe 3 times, your chances of just skyrocketed. And it is basically that. You really got to get lucky with this RNG. He's got a big variety of moves. Like, he's got these fucking, like, AoE attacks where he's, like, shooting these, like, streaks of fire or lightning at you and shit, and you got to get through that. He's hard to read. He's a hard book to read. He's throwing a lot of different shit at you. And you basically just got to keep going at it. You got to keep trying, get lucky, and parry at the right time, avoid his attacks at the right time. He is, without a doubt, one of the hardest bosses I have ever taken down. He is very difficult. But, it's mostly that first onslaught. If you can get through that was the hard part. Like, it was, most of my deaths came from me not being able to get through his first initial onslaught, because he comes at you with everything and you have virtually nothing at your disposal. So you got to get through it. And the cutting of the buildings, like, when he goes up there, I get so stressed out. I'm like, it is make or break. Like, if I make this cut, I have a chance. If I don't, I'm fucked and I got to start over again. And I didn't write down how many times it took me. I would say a solid 10 to 20 times, somewhere in that range it took me. A lot of times. It was a good, memorable fight. Like, it was definitely frustrating, like, just kind of waiting for that luck to come. But when it did, and I beat his ass, that felt great. That's, like, the best thing about hard bosses, is when you finally take it down. It's one of the greatest feelings you will have in video games. It feels great. That's why I love the Souls games and all that stuff. Like, taking down bosses feels good. And that's the end of the game. It is not a long game at all. All said and done, even with all my retries and shit like that, only took me 6 hours. Maybe less. That's a short video game. Hence why I didn't want to drop full price money on it way back when it came out. I was like, all right, it's a short, hard video game. It is extremely replayable. For me personally, I have no intentions of going back and playing through that again with a higher difficulty. I'm good. I just wanted it on my resume that I beat Senator Armstrong and I beat Metal Gear Rising. And very happy that I did. Very happy that I finally, again, I don't know why it took me so long. Actually, I do. It's because I'm a chicken. I when I hear it's a hard game, it sits on the backlog for a long time because I got to be in the mood to have my ass kicked. And this is a game, like I said, it is very, very hard. If I had to hit it at a 10 on the hardness scale, like a 7.5 maybe, just because it's not very long. If it was a longer game and just kept throwing hard bosses at you, but it's short and sweet. Like 6 hours, I was pleasantly surprised. Like, right now, I'm all about short games. I love it, but game that short, I mean, it's definitely worth checking out. See if you can get into it. At least get far enough to try out that mechanic. It doesn't take long to try out that fucking hack and slash mechanic. It is so much fun. It is so good. It was good enough that it got me through the whole game. I couldn't get enough of it. It was so much fucking fun. So, with that being said, let's kind of wrap up this review. We'll go through some of the things that I did and didn't like overall, and then we'll score this bitch, and we'll see if this retro video game is worth going back and checking out. So the things I didn't like, obviously, that parry system, just way too inconsistent for me throughout the game for it to be reliable and trustworthy. A lot of times I was like, I felt like I hit that properly, and the game's just like, nah, fuck you. So didn't like the parry system, and I didn't like that wiggling out of the stun locks and shit. That was so annoying. Really hurt the gameplay, hurt the speed, hurt the flow. Didn't like it. The camera had some problems at times, and if I knew about the lock-on system at the beginning of the game, probably wouldn't have been as bad as it was at certain parts for me, but even with the lock-on, it still has some camera problems. Other than that, pretty fucking good. Things that I did like. The gameplay. The slicing mechanic is one of the most satisfying, greatest fucking combat mechanics I have ever played with. It is so much fucking fun, so satisfying. Crazy set piece moments in this game, like the opening of the game, fighting with Ray, fighting samurais on moving trains. I mean, the set pieces, the stages they set up, the moments that happen in this game are awesome and super memorable, like the boss fights. Some of these bosses are going to stick with me in my nightmares for some time. I mean, Samuel, the Senator Armstrong, and that fucking body double, Monsoon or whatever, all can go to fucking hell, but they're going to stick with me as some of the most satisfying boss kills I've ever had, especially slicing them up, dicing them up into pieces. That was amazing. And the music, man, the music in this game is dope. So good. I love, that's one of my favorite parts about these crazy fast hack and slash games is the music is just about as crazy and over the top as the gameplay is. And that is a hell of a pro. That is great. So with that being said, do I recommend you play this game? Yes. Mostly, yes. I mean, again, with a grain of salt, this kind of goes with any video game. If it's not your thing, if you just don't like hard video games and hack and slashing games and combos and shit like that, then no, don't play it. But if you like a unique gameplay mechanic and you like hard challenging boss fights, you like hack and slash gameplay, you like a Bayonetta, you like Devil May Cry, don't miss out on Metal Gear Rising. This game fucking slaps. Really good. If I had to score it out of 10, I'd hit it with a 7.5 out of 10. It's a really good video game. Still holds up great today, especially that gameplay. Like I said, I haven't seen another video game do anything like that. Only this one. If there's another one out there, let me know about it. I'd love to see what they're doing with it as well. I mean, oh man, I don't think it would fit in a game like Sekiro, but if you had like a killing blow move where it just lets you chop them up any way you want, oh my god. Come on now. That shit is amazing. But yes, I recommend it to the right player. Players that like this kind of stuff, absolutely check it out. It's a short and sweet video game. Even just, like I said, if you're curious about this slicing mechanic, check it out. I imagine you can get it dirt cheap. I don't even know when I acquired this game, quite honestly. I think maybe it was released on the 360 Games with Gold maybe back in the day. I don't know where this game showed up. It was in my library, and I was like, I'm playing that bitch. I played it on 360 or I guess technically my Xbox S, but I played the 360 version of it, so there you go, everybody. That is my review of Metal Gear Solid Rising Revengeance. Crazy name of a video game, but a crazy game indeed, in mostly a good way. I'm very happy that I tried it out. Very happy I was able to beat Senator Armstrong. Wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it, but I did it, and I feel good about it. So there you go, everybody. That's the episode. Thank you so much for listening. Doing things a little bit different this week because of the NHL trade deadline. So I'm going to have my hockey cast come out after the trade deadline, dust settles, and all that shit. So you're getting the GamerCast early this week. I have a lot of pretty nice plans for the GamerCast here. I got some episodes planned out. I got a PlayStation 1 retrospective. I'm going to go through all of the games that I grew up with my PlayStation 1. I tracked down all the games that I played, and I'll talk about all of them. And I want to do something or literally the exact same thing, but with the Sega Saturn. I also had a Sega Saturn growing up. Definitely not as many games that I played on that system, but I'd love to go back, do a retrospective on the Sega Saturn, talk about all the games that I played growing up. There's not many of them, so I want to do those two. Review a Sekiro. I got a lot more list videos that are sitting there. So yeah, just let me know if there's one that piques your interest the most. I'm very wanting to do the PlayStation 1 retrospective because there's a lot of games on there that are really bad and I would never probably do a full episode on, but I would love to just tear them apart. And of course, go down memory lane. Those are some of the funnest episodes where you just go down a big list of fucking old games that you used to play. So that'll be a really fun episode that I hope to get done really soon. It's going to be a really, really crazy season upcoming for the GXGamerCast, especially on the wrestling side. We got WrestleMania season, it's right around the corner, man. April's going to be insane, so there's going to be all those WrestleMania reviews. There's going to be the NXT pay-per-view, and the big wrestling award show will also be going down after WrestleMania, giving out just a huge, very similar to the Gamer Awards, the Xyz, but with wrestling. Giving out all my wrestling awards. Match of the year, wrestler of the year, tag team of the year, all that stuff. Worst wrestlers of the year, all that. It's going to be a ton of fun going through the best and the worst of the year. With the wrestling, I do it from WrestleMania to WrestleMania. That's my season. That's my one turn around the sun situation. So there we go. So that is something to be looking forward to in April. So just make sure you're sticking around with the GX Plus cast. I upload all of these episodes to the YouTube channel, GamerGX Videos. Great place to drop a comment there if you have any questions, concerns for the podcast, questions about wrestling, hockey, video games, podcasting in general. Send in your question. I'd love to answer your question live on the podcast, carve out a little time for y'all. That would be super fun and awesome. And you can also, there's an email address, send in your questions there, or just want to have a private conversation, that's fine as well. And of course, there is a Twitter page if you want to follow along there for announcements and ideas. Great place to get in contact with me and all that great stuff. So there you go, everybody. Thankfully, thank you for listening and or watching. Hopefully you're doing good. I'm doing great. Really nice sunny day here in Canada. And of course, we will be back again soon with some more GX Plus Cast. Go get your asses kicked by Samuel and Senator Armstrong.